Today we're going to do a little tree cutting 101. So this tree right behind me here, it's all trunk. So I'm going to remove it. It's right here next to the beginning of one of our waterways. So I've got some plans for the tree, part of the trunk.
What has that got to do with it?
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
I think this would be a good tree to demonstrate on my process for cutting down trees. I would say that I am not a professional, so-called professional lumberjack or anything like that. I don't do this professionally or for a living. These are things that I do. I'm not saying that it's the end-all, be-all way to do it. It's just my process for what it's worth.
What?
The first thing I have to think about is where I want the tree to fall. Now, I want it to basically fall right here where I'm standing, okay? I want it to fall this way so it lands right on top of this pile of debris here, and that would be a good spot for it. So, that's the first thing I've got to think about. The second thing I've got to think about is this. In my mind, a tree is like a door. It's got a swing on a hinge. That hinge is a board that's going to break right in the middle of the tree. So what I'm going to think about in cutting this tree is a roughly a 2-inch board that's going to be right in the middle of the tree. And that's what's going to act as the safety valve. If I go through that board, bad things can happen. It can barber chair, meaning that the back, kind of like this tree here. You can see how this tree here is all split like this because it barber chaired. Part of the tree broke from the other part and it fell down. You'll find that in a lot of rotten trees where the middle is rotten, where that 2-inch board just gives away or isn't there. That's why cutting down a tree that's hollow or is rotten is very dangerous. This one doesn't appear to be hollow or anything like that. I mean, you really never know until you get into a tree. I cut one down yesterday that I thought was solid. It was rotten, but fortunately, I had enough hinge on the right and left side that it went down exactly where I wanted it to. Hopefully, we'll have the same result here. The second thing is the notch, and the notch is basically like a door frame. It's an area where you're going to cut a notch out of the tree. Typically, you're looking at 1/3 of the tree, and you're going to cut that notch. And then again, you're never going to go into this, but you want this to be nice and crisp right here in that joint. So when this tree falls, you want this board to break and fall, boom, right there. And so this will collapse here, and you won't have anything shooting back at you. It can always be dangerous. This is one of the most dangerous things you can do out on any property, anywhere. A lot of people get hurt doing this sort of thing, so you have to be cautious and careful as you're working. The last thing I've got to do, once I get this wedge cut, is I've got to cut back so that this material isn't going to hang it up. But what I want to do is go slightly above this, right in here, and cut this right there. Again, I don't want to overextend into this sacred ground here. I never cut into this. This stays where it is. If I need extra leverage to get that thing to fall, I use a wedge, I use a sledgehammer, I use an axe, there's a lot of things I can use, but what I'm not going to do is cut more out of that, because that's what's going to keep me safe, and that's what's going to make the tree fall. Without that board, I have no way to steer that tree down. I mean, that's the driver that makes it fall where it's supposed to. And again, slightly above this bottom mark here. I might be a little bit high here, but for illustration purposes, there you go.
That's just the stress talking, man.
Now that I have this all diagrammed out for you, I'm going to start cutting. Now, as you can see, that tree fell perfectly on that wedge, and that's just how you do it. You got to close it up. You got to make sure you keep your 2-inch board in there and let it all fold in together, just like a door closing. It'll be safe, quick, effective, and efficient.
If the shit fits, where?
You know, once you start, you got to get that tree down. So, anyway. So there's that. Thanks for watching, and hopefully gave you a little tip. Again, I'm not a professional lumberjack by any stretch of the imagination, but that's the process that I go through as I cut down trees. And out here, we cut down quite a few. So there you go. Until next time, thanks for watching. We'll see you again.